Video, I'm going to demonstrate how to install Tenable Security Center. Tenable Security Center can be installed on Red Hat, Oracle Linux 8, and CentOS 7. For the demonstration today, I'm going to be utilizing CentOS 7. To get started, you want to review the installation documentation for Security Center to make sure that your server meets the recommended requirements. We'll also be going through a sample install of Security Center to walk you through the installation wizard. To get started, I highly recommend installing Nessus first, as during the installation wizard, it does ask you for a Nessus scanner. However, it's not required. You will also need to know the host name of the server where Security Center will be installed on, as a license is tied to the host name. You will also need to make sure, although not required, that Security Center can reach the internet for public plugin downloads. We do have the ability to install Security Center on an air-gapped environment without an internet connection. But for today's video, we will be utilizing internet connectivity. You can get your host name and your license key from the Tenable community under My Products. We want to validate that the host name is correct. SSH into the server and just run hostname. We now see that the hostname for the server is edu-sc. Go ahead and go to Tenable Security Center View Downloads. You will need to log in with the username and password. This will be created for you when you become a customer. We can now see the installation packages that are supported: Red Hat and Oracle Linux 8 and 9, along with Red Hat 8 and 9. Download the appropriate installation file and copy it to the server. All you will need to do is run rpm-ivh Security Center and just hit tab. This will go through the installation. Note that Java version 8 or higher is required for the reporting functionality. Security Center will automatically start itself, and it will listen on HTTPS. So let's go ahead and go to this IP. As you can now see, we are entering the quick setup guide. Let's go and let's browse for the license file. Click Activate. Once we click Activate, it will say that the license file is accepted. We will also need the download code, which allows us to get plugin updates through Tenable's plugin update server. Click the plus and click Register. A green check mark indicates that Security Center was able to contact our registration server successfully. If this does not happen, please check your internet connectivity. Also, you may need to whitelist downloads.tenable.org or downloads.nessus.org to receive plugin updates. This is where we would add our Nessus scanner. We want to make sure the Nessus scanner is named appropriately for what the Nessus scanner will be scanning. As an example, corporate, HQ, location A or B, or based off a business unit. We will need to know the IP or host name of the Nessus scanner. In another video, we will cover how to link Nessus and Security Center together. 8834 is filled in automatically. We can do verify hostname or user proxy, and then the username and password. Note that if you do not have a Nessus scanner set up, you can always come back and do this later. You can always fill in fake data to allow to go to the next step. The repository is a logical organization of data within Security Center. Consider it a physical bucket of your data. This will allow all your data to be organized logically within Security Center. I highly recommend utilizing the universal repository as it allows for both IPv4, IPv6, and agent-based data. We can also input the IP range that this repository will be utilized for. You can also use single IPs or range of IPs or comma separated. Generate trend data allows you to create trend dashboards over time. Note that the more days in trending, the larger the disk space required to store this data on your server. Your organization is your company information. If your company requires password expiration for the organization, you can toggle. The scoring system always defaults to V2. However, if your company requires V2 or V3, you can select either or. LDAP is utilized for asset collection, but also you can utilize using users to link to your LDAP server to control password management. If you don't have this information handy, you can skip it. In Security Center, you have separation of duties. You have a security manager and an administrator. Your security manager is used for day-to-day operations, scanning, reporting, dashboard, asset management, etc. We'll go through and fill out the information. The administrator account is your administrator that deals with adding Nessus scanners, changing configuration settings, managing your license. The default username is admin. However, you can add another administrator account and remove the default admin account. If you wanted to enable usage statistics, you can do that as here. Confirm all your settings are correct and hit confirm. Congratulations, you have now set up Security Center. Once you click Complete Setup, you can now get an overview of what everything looks like. We'll also show you the scanner status. As the scanner is currently updating, it will alert you if there's an issue. Once the scanner is finished, it will go green. This allows you to start scanning. To do that, you'll need to log out and log in with the Security Manager account that you created. We are now greeted with the default dashboard. Please look at our documentation to get started on how to configure scans and get your initial setup. Thank you so much for following along with this video. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to install and link Nessus to Tenable Security Center. To get started, go to Tenable.com/downloads and look for Tenable Nessus. You can download the platform of your choice on one of our supported operating systems. You can look at our documentation on how to install it on Linux, Windows, Mac OS, Raspberry Pi, or the Docker image. Once you go through the installation, start your Nessus service, and you'll be greeted with the initial setup. To link it to Security Center, select Link Nessus to another Tenable product and hit Continue. We'll need to select Tenable-.sc. Create a username or password. You will then be dropped into the wizard screen and it will finish the setup. Now what you need to do is you need to note the username or the host name of the system and the username and password and log into Security Center as admin. As you can see, I already have logged in as administrator on my Security Center console. We need to go to Resources and Nessus Scanners, and then click Add Nessus Scanner. Since I already have a Nessus scanner responsible for scanning Corp, I want to give this a name of Location. put the host name in, along with the username and password that I set up. We'll also need to make sure that it's in the correct Security Center zone. If this is a scanner that can be agent capable, select agent capable and use the API keys. As this is just a normal Nessus scanner, we don't need to worry about agent capable, and hit submit. We'll now see that it's updating status, and we'll go through updating plugins and then complete. Once it's complete and a green status is given, we are now able to utilize it for scanning within Security Center. Thank you so much for following along. In this video, we're going to go over a high-level architecture review of Security Center and the requirements to get started on Security Center. At a high level, Tenable Security Center is a console that manages your scanners, reporting, and management. Tenable Security Center normally resides in your SOC. You then deploy the Tenable Nessus scanners to your various networks. We recommend getting the scanners as close to the targets as possible so they don't traverse a NAT, firewall, load balancer. With Tenable Security Center, you could deploy as many Nessus scanners as you need. The only requirement is that Tenable Security Center needs inbound access to those scanners. The ports can be configured per requirements, or default is 8834. Tenable Nessus goes out and does the assessments and reports back to Security Center with those results. This allows you to keep your management simple within one management UI. Tenable Security Center is also divided in what we call organizations. Organizations can have access to one or more repositories to store the scanned data. As an example, you can have multiple business units. This will allow you to keep the data physically separate within a Tenable Security Center. You may have requirements where certain users or certain organizations cannot see other organizations' data. Or maybe you have a parent organization that can see all data. You can also configure various roles or RBAC to allow users within organizations to only see certain data. The requirements to install Tenable Security Center as followed. We support a virtual Tenable Core appliance, which can be installed VMware, Hyper-V, or cloud-based. The hardware requirements are listed in the documentation as shown on screen. We will also put a link to the description below. As you can see, the hardware is based off the number of active IPs that are required. If you have any questions, please ask your pre-sales engineer or your professional services representative for clarifying numbers. If you decide to install Tenable Security Center, the difference between the Tenable Core and other platforms is that the Tenable Core is a self-contained operating system that has been customized by Tenable. This provides you with the optimal use of Security Center. We also update the OS itself, allowing you to work on other things rather than dealing with an updated operating system. It is also pre-hardened via CIS benchmarks. Again, the deployment is going to be determined based off your internal requirements.
This video will cover measuring scan success. The goal is to ensure all discovered assets have been scanned and to identify assets that do not have scan data associated with them. There are multiple ways to do this, and we will start with the simplest method, which utilizes asset lists. In Tenable.sc, there is an asset list called Passive Systems with No Scanning. If you do not see this asset list, simply add it by clicking the Add button and searching for it. Click on the asset list and click the Add button. Once added, the list will automatically populate. Here you can see the number of assets in our organization which have not been scanned. Unscanned assets present an unknown security risk and should be assessed as soon as possible. In the menu for this asset list, click View to see more detailed information. Here you can see the number of matching hosts on a per repository basis. Further down, you can see the asset definition, which displays the criteria for which assets will be included in this asset list. You can now utilize this asset list in a variety of other workflows, such as dashboards, reports, and scanning. For example, it is a best practice to scan every asset. We will create a new network scan against the unscanned hosts. Click the button to add an active scan. Choose the scan name and policy. Choose the repository to store the data in. In the Targets section, choose the asset list for passive systems with no scanning. Click Submit to save your scan. Launching your scan against these assets will provide important vulnerability data for these discovered assets.
In this video, I'll discuss how to create reports from templates in Tenable.sc. There are a few pre-built reports that can automatically populate with each user. In addition, Tenable provides several report templates within Tenable.sc. These templates are updated and added to regularly via the feed. Similar to dashboard templates, they are categorized by type. You can also easily search for templates. For example, if I want to know which reports will provide information on my malware-related vulnerabilities, I just type that term in, and then press Enter. Some reports can also be identified from a search by terms used in tags. Here, you can read a brief description of the report, as well as identify which sensors, products, and data types are required for the report to work more effectively. Let's look at the Malware Indicator report. This only requires data from a Nessus scanner. To add the report, simply click anywhere on the tile. Once you select the report template, you are given a further option to focus the report. By default, all systems are targeted. You can focus all elements of the report further on a specific asset list as well as optional repository, IP range or optional repository, or just a repository. I'll focus my report on Windows hosts that are in my active scans repository. Then update the title accordingly. Then just click Add. By default, the report is created with an on-demand schedule, meaning you would need to manually launch it. You can edit the report further from here. Create a schedule, as well as add a watermark or logo and an encryption password. You can also set the report up to automatically email or share the resulting PDF with other Tenable.sc users, or even outside email addresses.
This video will discuss using dashboard templates. The dashboard capability of Tenable.sc makes it easy to view your security posture at a glance through a variety of dashboards focused on specific metrics or more broad vulnerability data. There are a few built-in dashboards, and the first one we'll look at is the Vulnerability Overview. Dashboards are comprised of components, which can be a variety of charts as well as tables, which you can see here. As the name implies, this dashboard is good for understanding the most pervasive vulnerabilities and assets in your environment. The Top 10 Vulnerabilities chart lists the most prevalent vulnerabilities as well as the number of affected assets, as noted in the total column. The top 10 IP summary component provides a list of the IP addresses ranked by their vulnerability score. In addition to the built-in dashboards, it is easy to add additional dashboards via templates. Click the Add Dashboard item to begin. These templates are provided by Tenable and are categorized by type. You can also search for templates. For example, if you wanted to search templates related to Windows systems, simply type Windows in the search field. Here, you can read a brief description of the dashboard, as well as identify which sensors, products, and data types are required for the dashboard to work most effectively. For example, the credentialed Windows scanning dashboard template only requires data from a Nessus scanner. To add it, click the arrow. You have the option to narrow the focus to specific assets, as well as define when you would like this dashboard to update. After doing so, click the Add button. The dashboard will begin to update and populate the components. You can switch dashboards at any time by using the Switch Dashboard dropdown. And when you are ready for advanced usage and customization, you can use the Options menu to customize or create new dashboards. It will cover analyzing individual scan results. To begin, navigate to Scans and Scan Results. Here you will see a list of all scans that this user has run. Click on the scan to view the results. A few navigational items to note here is that the default view is a vulnerability summary, which provides the plugin ID, plugin name, plugin family, severity, vulnerability priority rating, or VPR, and the number of hosts that are affected. On the left side is the filtering pane, which you can open by clicking the arrow. Here you can add or remove filters to narrow your search results. For example, you could create a simple filter for medium, high, and critical severity levels. In addition to the filters, there are varieties of analysis tools that automatically slice the data into a meaningful view. For example, the DNS name summary provides a list of hosts by DNS name ranked by the total number of vulnerabilities which affect the given hosts. The IP summary tool provides a similar view but also includes a score column. It is important to note that the vulnerability score for an asset is computed by adding up the number of vulnerabilities at each severity level and multiplying it with the organization's severity score. It is also possible to drill down into the results by clicking on an item in the list. In this example, we can see a list of vulnerabilities affecting a given host. This gives us additional information, including the plugin name, the IP address, DNS name, MAC address, and the repository that the data is stored within. Clicking once more on an item in the list gives us a detailed view with an overview of the vulnerability description, solutions for remediation, raw plugin output, as well as CVSS details and additional metadata. You will also notice that the filter on the left-hand side gets populated automatically as you drill down further.
I'm going to talk about how to use filters in Tenable.sc for vulnerability analysis and how to set up queries from those filters. Tenable.sc has a large number of filters that can be used to help narrow down your vulnerability analysis. You can then save those filters as queries. Queries can be used in many of the other features in Tenable.sc, such as reports, dashboards, tickets, and alerts, as well as to quickly reuse the same filters from the vulnerability analysis view. Many of the filters have their own rules as well. Details on specific filters are outside the scope of this particular presentation, however. You can find those details here in the online documentation. Just search for Tenable.sc filters. To set filters, expand the Filters pane from the Vulnerability Analysis view. Only a few of the available filters, those that tend to be the most popular, are listed by default. To add additional filters, just click Select Filters. You can scroll through the alphabetical list, or if you know what you're looking for, enter that into the search window. Let's say I want to know which of my Windows 2016 systems have had high or critical vulnerabilities detected within the last 7 days. So I'll go ahead and add the asset filter and the vulnerability last observed filters, and the severity filter is there by default. Now I go ahead and set my values. Once everything is set the way you want it, go ahead and click Apply All. Let's take this one step further. I want to view which systems are affected, so I'll go ahead and switch this to the IP summary view. Now I'm looking at everything that I want to. I want to go ahead and save this as a query. Now all you have to do is click Load Query and it'll reload everything. Everything's already loaded there, but it will also include, no matter if you're in a different analysis tool, when you load the query, it loads that as well. You can also manage your queries directly from the Queries page. Here you can add, edit, delete, or share your query. Any query you create is usable by default by all users within your user group. When you share that query with all users in the user group that you're sharing it with.
This video will cover launching a basic network scan in Tenable.sc. The goal of this video is to conduct a vulnerability assessment of assets that you do not have credentials for. To begin, we need to create a scan policy. To do this, we'll navigate to the Scan Policies section and create a new policy. There are a variety of templates to choose from for different scanning needs. In this scenario, we'll use the basic network scan template. This template will probe assets over the network to determine open ports, vulnerabilities, and gather a range of information. The time it takes for this scan to complete is dependent upon the speed of your network and the number of hosts you are scanning, as more hosts will require more scanning time. Provide a name and, optionally, a description and tags. For a basic scan, we'll leave the rest of the settings at their default values, which are suitable for most networks. Now that we have a policy, we can create a scan. We'll navigate to the Active Scans section, and now we can add a new scan. After providing a name, we can choose the policy we just created. If you'd like to run this scan on a schedule, you can define that here as well. Next, we'll go to Settings. Here we can choose the repository to put the data in. Next, let's choose our targets to scan. We'll use a previously created static asset list. To launch it, click the Launch button. To see the status of the scan, navigate to the scan results. Clicking on the scan will give you more information about the currently running scan, such as the scanner being used and the number of assets already completed. When the scan has finished, click on it to review the results. Categorizing assets with asset lists in Tenable.sc. The goal of this video is to map your organization's asset landscape to Tenable.sc for easier scanning, filtering, and reporting. To begin, we'll go to the Assets section. There are a variety of pre-built asset lists in Tenable.sc, including common ones for Linux and Windows operating systems. Let's walk through creating a new asset list. The Templates section allows you to browse through ready-made templates created by the Tenable research team. You may find a pre-existing asset list that meets your needs, which requires little to no modifications. You can search these pre-built templates using keywords that include operating systems, applications, device types, vulnerabilities, and more. You can also create custom asset lists. There are two main types, static and dynamic. Static asset lists are those which do not change unless manually updated. Dynamic asset lists use rules to automatically update the assets within them based upon a defined criteria. For example, you could define a dynamic asset list to automatically include all assets identified as Windows servers. In this example, we'll create a static asset list for a specific range of IP addresses. Provide a name and optionally a description and tag. In the IP addresses section, you can specify individual IPs or ranges. You can also import a list of IP addresses that you may have exported from another asset management tool or a spreadsheet. After saving the asset list, you can use it in a variety of places within Tenable.sc, such as vulnerability analysis, dashboards, and reporting. For example, let's navigate to our vulnerabilities. To use the new asset list, create a filter. We'll choose Select Filters and choose the Asset filter. Click on the new asset filter, and you can start typing the name of the filter or scroll through the list. Click Apply All. Now we have filtered the vulnerability summary to only show vulnerabilities which affect systems in our asset list. We'll cover launching a discovery scan in Tenable.sc. The goal of this video is to conduct simple identification of assets within your network. To begin, we need to create a scan policy. To do this, we'll navigate to the Scan Policies section. Create a new policy. There are a variety of templates to choose from for different scanning needs. In this scenario, we'll use the Host Discovery template. This template runs quickly as it simply identifies hosts which respond to ping-like requests. Of course, this will also be impacted by the number of hosts you are scanning, as more hosts will require more scanning time. Provide a name and optionally a description and tags. In the Discovery section, you should choose either Host Enumeration or OS Identification. Choosing OS Identification will also try to gather operating system information in addition to simple host checking. Now that we have a policy, we can create a scan. We'll navigate to the Active Scans section and add a new scan. After providing a name, we can choose the policy that we just created. If you'd like to run this scan on a schedule, you can also define that here as well. Next, we'll go to the Settings section. Here we'll choose a repository to put this data in. Next, we'll choose our targets to scan. We'll change our target type from assets to IP and DNS name. Here you can enter individual IP addresses, ranges, as well as host names. Here we've entered a simple IP address range. When finished, we can save the scan. To launch the scan, click the Launch button. To view the status of the scan, navigate to the Scan Results section. Here we can see that the scan is currently in progress, as well as identifying the number of IPs that have been scanned so far. If we click on the scan, we can get some additional details, including which scanner is currently running the scan job, as well as how many IP addresses have already been completed. When the scan has finished, clicking on it will bring you directly to the results. The default analysis tool is the vulnerability summary. If we change this to an IP summary, we can see that the scan has identified 6 assets. Since we chose to gather operating system information during the scan, we can change the analysis tool to List OS to view them.
Nessus Network Monitor greatly increases your ability to detect all the devices that are communicating on your network. Results are automatically imported into the repository or repositories set up by the Tenable.sc administrator. It's best practice to use a separate repository for passive imports. If necessary, you can set up multiple repositories for imports for a single Nessus Network Monitor. For instance, if you have your Nessus Network Monitor set up to monitor IPv6 networks, you'll need to add an IPv6 repository in Tenable.sc as well and associate it with that Nessus Network Monitor. When setting up the repository IP ranges for passive imports, be aware of what ranges you have filtered on your Nessus Network Monitor. The filters here will take precedence over anything set up in Tenable.sc. In this example, even if the Tenable.sc repository is set up to allow all IPv4 IPs, only hosts within the monitored network IP addresses will be imported. By default, Tenable.sc imports Nessus Network Monitor results every 60 minutes. However, you can adjust that setting to align with the report frequency set up in your Nessus Network Monitor. Do that in the System Configuration, External Schedules. Just set the poll interval to as low as every 15 minutes. Once everything is set up by the administrator, log in as an org user to see your imported assets. You can set up a dashboard that can filter on your repositories, or you can browse the cumulative and set a filter on the plugin type and choose passive. And we change our tool here to IP summary. You have a good query for all of your passively detected assets. In Tenable.sc, you can save this as a query, and it'll save all of these filters and this analysis tool. And then you can use that query in reports and dashboards, and you can drill down into the results of any of these. Now you notice that most of these addresses don't have a lot of vulnerabilities associated with them. It's because they're only passively detected, so you just have network traffic to go on. However, now you have hosts that you can look further into and run a credentialed scan on for more information.